Hi, and welcome into our kind of overview training of our new MACH Vulnerability Assessment and our updated Coordinated Entry project within HMIS. What we're going to do today is kind of go through some of the particulars on what we've changed, why we've made these changes, what we are kind of hoping to get out of them, and then kind of a timeline for when this will be rolled out, as well as what things kind of look like. So we'll do this overview, then there'll be also a section that'll go through the new MVA, the MACH Vulnerability Assessment, that'll be replacing the VI SPDAT. We'll go through that individually, as well as going through and building a new CS entry using our new CES HMIS project. But for this, we'll just kind of walk through everything step by step and kind of go through what's different. So we have been working for about the past year on customizing and building an assessment that would serve our community. So the questions we want to ask that fit our population, the clients you work with every day, as opposed to the standardized VI SPDAT. We know that VI SPDAT is tough to administer to clients. It's questions that are very invasive. So we wanted to move away from that. What we've done is we've worked with input from our pilot group, which is made up of agency partners throughout the COC. We had people from DV providers, youth providers, family, trying to make sure that every client, every population that's represented within our community also had a voice at the table in building this assessment. What it will do is it'll fully replace the VI SPDAT. So we will be moving away from that completely and moving to this new survey. One of the big changes right off the bat is this MACH Vulnerability Assessment will be located on a Cognito form instead of within HMIS. We're hopeful that moving to a Cognito form makes it easier, makes it quicker. We know HMIS is a little clunky at times, and so we hope this makes things a little bit easier and removes a little bit of time. Another thing that's different right off the bat is, if you know the VI SPDAT, there are 3 different versions. There's a youth version, a family version, and an adult individual version. What we've done with the MVA is all of those are now included on the same form. And what pops up just depends on the answers to the questions. So again, one less thing to worry about. You don't have to worry about using the wrong assessment. This is all taken care of now. Joining with the updated MVA, we have also tweaked our CES project within HMIS. We built a new project to fit the needs of moving our assessment off of HMIS. With that, we also took out some things that were duplicative and added more kind of administrative time to input data into CES entries. So we're hopeful, again, to make this quicker, easier, and less of a pain for y'all. Like I said, moving away from the standardized VI allowed us to customize an assessment that better fits the needs of our community and our population. This is not an apples-to-apples survey from the VI SPDAT to the MVA. This MVA does a better job of assessing barriers to housing. There are questions on, do you have an eviction on your record? Do you have a foreclosure on your record? Do you have a pet or a service animal? As we know, those can be barriers getting into shelters as they wait for housing. So the scores are going to be different from the VI SPDAT to the MVA, and we know that, but that's because these are 2 very different surveys that are measuring different things. The MVA also asks less invasive questions, and it should be easier to conduct for both you, the caseworker, and the client. We know that these are very trauma-inducing questions on the old VI SPDAT, and so we wanted to go ahead and try to measure some of those risk factors, but without making clients have to go through all of their trauma in such a harsh way. The streamlined CES process means it should take less time to enroll a client in coordinated entry. We know for shelters who do coordinated entry that y'all get super, super busy and have lots of folks that you're trying to enroll maybe in one afternoon, one evening. And so this hopefully will make things a little smoother. We also have, like I said, less information required within the individual CS entries. But due to this, we are going to be sticklers about making sure that what is included in the CS entry gets filled out every single time. This is really, really important. So this is our tentative rollout time. This is going to change based on our training and some feedback and that kind of thing. But ideally, this is what we'd like to have happen. Starting February 1st, Agencies that have been trained will begin using the MVA and the revamped CES project within HMIS. And so what that means is if you have a new client come in who is not enrolled in coordinated entry, you go ahead and do the MVA with them and then open them up a new CES entry in the revamped CES project. So that's going to be MACH CES 2026. And again, we'll go through that a little later in the presentation broadly, but also there'll be an individual training for going through that CES entry from beginning to end. For existing clients, those clients that are already on the prioritization list, who already have an open CES entry and a VI SPDAT done, what we've done here is when that prioritization list comes out twice a month, if you see that client come up and they're highlighted in yellow, which means their VI has to be updated to stay on the list, when it's time for them to be updated, what you'll do is you'll go and use the MVA, and instead of updating their old CS entry, you will then just open them up a new CS entry in that revamped CES project. So no interim updates should be done using the old CES process. Everything, once we start rolling this process out, should be done within the new MACH CES 2026 project. That kind of starts our 60-day window to transition clients over to the new CES project. It's a little clunky, but we also wanted to make sure that no clients fell off the list or lost access to services because we're making this change in the process. So we built in 60 days to move everybody over. And then hopefully by that point, everyone will be and will be fully on the new project. At that point, we'll go in and we'll actually sunset the old CS project entirely. Those entries will go away from the profiles, and all you will see is that new CS project. With that said, in the meantime, please keep doing what you're doing. Use the old CES project, use the VI SPDAT, and we will be in touch closer to the date to confirm details on when we want to start using the MVA and that updated CES. Please don't start without that confirmation. Just know that we'll be in touch with a firm start date. We'll also have all sorts of workflows available, as well as the training videos to help you as we go ahead and go through this. So another thing that's going to change, obviously, is the scoring for the new MVA compared to the VI SPDAT. There are more questions, they're asking different things, so the score is going to be very different. As you know now, the VI range is 4 to 7 for rapid rehousing, 8 and above for permanent supportive housing. As you'll see here, the rapid rehousing band has been broadened by a large amount. And the reason we want to do that is we had folks who would score maybe an 8 or a 9 and technically qualify for permanent supportive housing, but they would not be high enough on that list to get housed via that. But they also were typically too high to get housed via rapid, and so they just kind of would linger on the list. And so we hope that broadening the band for rapid rehousing and knowing that you can serve any of those clients in that band, it doesn't matter if they have a 14 or a 4, if that client is ready to get housed, and they are fit for what you're offering, you're able to kind of pull them and service them. You don't have to go top to bottom. However, you still have to go top to bottom for permanent supportive housing. So again, we'll go through the scores right here. 1 to 16 for individuals and youth is rapid rehousing and transitional. 1 to 20 for families. Permanent supportive housing is going to be a score of 17 and above for individuals and youth, and 21 and above for families. And again, that's just the score. For permanent supportive, you also know that they have to have the requisite disability that qualifies, as well as the length of time homeless. We'll go through this MVA in a later training session, so we'll go ahead and walk through the new CES project in HMIS. So what's going to change here? You'll look for MACH CES as usual in Interdata As mode. The number is changed from 15543 to 17103. And you're going to look for MACH CES 2026 and hit the plus sign. That'll be our new project. And like I said, eventually we will go ahead and sunset this entire old MACH CES project, but it'll be open during our transition period. Just remember, all new entries and all updates will be done in this. Nothing, once we start this transitional process, nothing should be done in this old MACH CES project in terms of opening or updating entries. You'll see you're in the right one. It says MACH CES. Every new update or every new CS entry is going to be a standard type. If you're doing an interim update, interim review, it's going to be an update. So we keep that simple for you. And then always remember, set that time to 12 a.m. midnight for data pooling purposes. Excuse me. All right, so here's what's in these new CS entries. As I said, we remove some things to make it quicker, make it easier, less duplicative, less data entry for y'all to save time. What is in here, however, is very, very important. So first up, we have county of current location, as well as county of last permanent address. So where are they being serviced right now, and then where do they last have permanent stable housing? There's also a new question that we've added to our assessments here in recent months, which is, did an agency or organization arrange transportation for you to travel here from another county? If they say yes, there's a spot here to ask them, if yes, what agency or organization helped arrange you transportation? And if they have an answer for that, put it down and then email us here at United Way. There's a spot for case manager and client contact information, as well as where they can be located on a given day, as well as a spot for when you start the housing search process for them to enroll them into services. We have interviewer name and agency, so we know who's filling out the CS entry. Household types, that'll be individual, family, and then relationship to head of household for the person you're doing this with, as well as yes, no to disabling condition. Next up is our prior living situation. So where did you stay last night? How long have you been staying there? How long have they been homeless? And again, if you're doing a CS entry and a MACH vulnerability assessment on a client, please make sure that they are literally homeless by HUD's definition. If they are not homeless, then you don't need to do a CS entry or a MACH vulnerability assessment for them. You need to refer them for assistance via utility assistance, rental assistance, anything to keep them in their current housing. But if they are not literally homeless by HUD's definition, they do not need to have a CS entry done for them. We also have down here survivor of domestic violence. If they select yes, then obviously you would answer these two questions. If they say no, you don't need to. And then last thing, instead of doing the VIs for that in the CS entry, what is different now is all you have to do is the score. So in the next section, we'll go through doing the MACH vulnerability assessment from top to bottom, kind of what that entails. And what you will see when you do that survey is you'll get a score at the bottom. You're going to take that score, bring it back to the CS entry, and just type it in right there. So the vulnerability assessment date is going to be a date that you're doing the assessment on. The vulnerability score is a score that it's going to give you. And remember, that stays with you within HMIS in the CS entry and within the Cognito. The start date is going to be the date that you're putting it into HMIS. You don't need to worry about the end date. And so that's it. That's the streamlined new CS project within HMIS. That is a broad overview of why we changed, why we moved over to the MVA, and what we hope to get out of it. Like I said, in our next training session, we'll go through what the assessment actually looks like. But this was important to kind of explain the thought behind why we've done what we've done and what we're hoping to get out of it. So just some last minute reminders as we finish up here. Once a client has a change in their housing status, please be sure to submit a CS client house ticket. You can find that on the Midlands Homeless website. Send that to us, and then we will go in and actually close out those CES tickets ourselves. We want to make sure that those changes get noted within our system and that they get changed and notified to us. We will keep sending out the prioritization list twice a month. We send it out as close to the 1st and the 15th as possible. During the transition period, where we both have the old project and the new, it'll be a little clunky. We'll have an old list and a new list, but we will send both of those out. And then once we fully transition to the new project, it'll just be the new list. So be on the lookout for that every 2 weeks, basically, the 1st and the 15th of every month, or as close to it as possible. And then a big thing is just, this is a process that it's new. We're excited about this. We are really excited to get this out. and into the community, but we know it's not a finished product. This is something that's going to be evaluated and looked at every step along the way as we implement it, and then every so often going forward to make sure that it's still serving the need. And so what we want to have you do is, as you use this with clients, as you fill this out in HMIS, as you fill this out on Cognito, if you have issues, if you have things that pop up that aren't working correctly, if you see something that you'd like to maybe change, please let us know. Communication is the biggest thing here. And so we want to make sure that we are here to make your jobs easier. That's what our job is here. And so if you have any questions, issues, comments, concerns, please reach out to us here at United Way. We want to hear all your feedback, and then we will do our best to implement it in the best way possible. So we want to make sure that this works for every agency, and knowing that with every new system, there will be things to tweak along the way. So if you have something that doesn't really seem right or a question, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear your feedback. So that's it. That's a broad overview of kind of what we've done here, what we've changed, what we have coming up here in 2026 as we roll this out. And we have further training sessions on what the MVA looks like and filling that out on the Cognito, as well as what the new streamlined CES entry project looks like on HMIS. So please feel free to go ahead and move on to those, but this will always be here as a reference if you need to explain to anyone why we're changing and what we're doing to make those changes. Thank you.